So there's a given graph. There's a given graph in question number 4 where with the C1 is the equation of the quadratic function. As they say over here, you can realize it just looking at the graph. It's just a parabola C1, and the C2 is probably presumably it's cubic function. It's in the second part. Part A is related to quadratic function, and they say the figure shows us two curves, and then the curve 1 has this let's say properties and has an equation which is a quadratic. Cut the x-axis at the origin and 4, so that's an intersection with the x-axis over here, and that's a 1. Has a minimum turning point, so that's basically the vertex to and negative 4.8. You don't necessarily write this, it's just like I'm writing this as a vertex where it does have a derivative 0. Or we can say that it's like a turning point. They're talking about this point, that you just better to write it there maybe. Okay, so 2 and negative 4.8. all right. Okay, so why I'm saying that the vertex, because we have an equation that's called the vertex form of a quadratic equation or a quadratic function. I'm solving part A somewhere over here. Yes, so I'm looking for equation of the f function, where I'm gonna use the equation as an f of x equals to a multiplied by x minus h squared plus k. All right, this is the equation. We call it vertex form. Okay. It's like there's a precise name. It's like something related as far as I remember the vertex form. So it's very useful as long as you know the turning point and the 1 point on the equation, 1 point on the graph. Okay, very lucky because we know actually more than one. We know this one, which is on the curve intersection, as well as in 0 and 0. That's going to help us to find A. Alright, so we already know that A is going to be positive because that's concave up. Okay, so I'm going to be taking point 0 and 0. Alright, actually let me just start with this one. Okay, so if I know the vertex, that means the equation is going to be a multiplied by x minus the x coordinate, which is 2, and plus the y coordinate, which means plus negative 4.8, just a minus 4.8. Alright, now I told you if you know the vertex or turning point and the 1 point on the curve, so you will be able to find the equation. So the only problem we basically see is just the A, so we just use the 1 point on the curve and find the equation, find the A, and then if you know the A, we know the equation. Then I'm going to be using a 0, 0 for this. Why 0, 0? Like I'm going to be taking point A, let's say, I'm going to call it point A, 0 and 0. And then the f of x, which is equals to a times x minus 2 squared. There's a squared over here, minus 4.8. Why I'm going to be taking 0, 0? Because it's easy to work with it, okay? I can take 4 and 0 as well. I'm going to be doing a little bit more calculations on it. Not a big deal. Even like 4 and 0, not a big deal, but I'm not going to take it, okay? It's better to take the easiest ones always, okay? So, which this means, this point means x coordinate is 0. When x is 0, the whole thing f of x, or you can call this y, is 0. So I can say now, a multiplied by 0 minus 2 squared minus 4.8 is equals to 0. So that's going to be 4a equals to 4.8 a is going to be 1.2. So the equation of the function, now you can say, is going to be equals to 1.2 x minus 2 squared minus 4.8. There is no specific requirements here, okay? Do not really ask us to like expand it, write it as an ax squared plus bx plus c. So any form of the equation is going to be accepted. In fact, if you look at the mark scheme, you will see something look like this: 1.2 x multiplied by x minus 4, which is exactly the same as this one. If I right now expand this and simplify, and then again, I mean, after simplifying and then again factorize it, I'm gonna be having this one exactly, okay? So I'm going to be taking this one. Well, in another part of the mark scheme, you look at the mark scheme, you see, all right, this is just basically a different form, and they accept it as well. Okay, this is part A. We just done it. Now in part B, this time they're talking about curve C2. They're talking about this one, and they say that's a cubic function, and it cuts the origin, as we can see, and then meets with the x-axis at 4 and passes through the point 6 and 7.2. We need to find the equation of it. All right, that's also an easy question. Firstly, we need to pay attention that there is an intersection that is a g of x. And then right, g of x is equals to, there's an intersection that's also going to have some coefficient, might have, might not, so we don't know it, we are not sure, we write it. And then there will be an x minus 0. There is an intersection there, x minus 0 I meant, okay? And there is a bounds or a touch or whatever you want to call this. It's just, we know from the cubic functions, if there is a bounds, that means it is a square. So that's basically x minus 4 squared. That gives us the bounds. Alright, so the equation, if I simplify just a little bit further, equation is something look like this. Alright, we have to find now a. So I mean, when I said there might be a or not, I mean there might be a is 1, or a might be a 1 or something greater than 1, as it is the shape is just gives us the clue or an idea. That's actually that it has a positive coefficient. X cubed has a positive coefficient. So the last information we're going to be using now, it says it's passing through 2 and 7.2. Let's just use it. If basically if x is equals to 6, y will be equals to 7.2. And then I'm going to be using it, finding the a, and then after finding a, I know the equation. The question is completed. But you might gonna having a question like, why don't we use 0, or why don't we use 4 and 0, 0, 0 and 4 and 0? In this question, I mean, if you want to use it, you're gonna see that it's basically justifying this 0, 0 or a 4, 0 is on this curve. If you put a 0 here, the right hand side will be 0, so the right hand side will be 0 as the left hand side is 0, so 0 equals to 0. That doesn't help us to find a. So does the 4 doing the same thing. So 4 minus 4 is 0, 0 right hand side, and the 0, the left hand side, 0 equals to 0. It justifies that 4 and 0 or 0 and 0 is on this curve. So it doesn't really help us to find a. So that's the reason we need to use 6 and 7.2, and they gave us, we don't have to find it. They just gave us these points are on the curve. So we use this to find a. So if x is 6, that means 6a multiplied by 6 minus 4 squared is equals to 7.2. So 6 minus 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, that means 24a is equals to 7.2. So where a is going to be 7.2 divided by 24, that gives us 0.3, or you can say this as a 3 divided by 10. So finally I can say that the equation of this cubic function is going to be 0.3 x. So instead of a in this equation, I'm going to write 0.3 x multiplied by x minus 4 squared. So that's going to give you 3 marks. The full solution, remember to show everything, all the detail as much as you can, and 3 marks for just finding equation of the quadratic function. Alright, so I'm going to be taking right now this one. Let me duplicate that. Okay, this is an f of x, and the g of x given as 0.3x x minus 4 squared. This question is 4 marks. They say the curves C1, C2 meet in the first quadrant at the point P, and we need to find the coordinates of P, and we basically see that they meet at 3 times, one at 0, 0, and another one at 4, and the one on the top. So we're looking for this one. Okay, well, what I'm going to do here, basically for any equations, if you want to find the point of intersections, and you have to be equalizing the equations. (0.3x x minus 4 squared). So I'm gonna be taking the expression on the right hand side to the left side. Okay, so here I'm going to be factorizing 0.3x multiplied by x minus 4, and that gives us just simply 4 minus in the bracket x minus 4 equals 0. Alright, I'm not going to deal with this part of the equation at all. The reason that I'm not going to be doing that is because if I equalize this to 0, one gives us 0, other one gives us 4, which we already know it from the graph. So I'm looking for this point, so that must be the one over here. Okay, so I'm only going to take 4 minus x minus 4 equals 0. So basically that is 4 minus x plus 4 equals 0. That means x is 8. So I found the x coordinate of this point, but remember they want the coordinates of P, so you are forced to find y coordinate, otherwise you're not going to get a full mark. Since these two equations meet at this point, and this gives us the output, you can use either of these equations, this or that, to find the y coordinate. So for me, it looks like the f of x is the easy one. I put the 8 instead of x, 1.2 times 8 multiplied by 8 minus 4, and that gives us 1.2 times 8 and 8 minus 4, 38.4. So the coordinates of P will be 8 and 38.4. So that is the last one. Alright, of course you might be thinking, what if I expand and solve this, and then without like thinking of a factorization? You still can do that. There will be a lot of calculations there happening. Remember, you will have a cubic equation there, and then you need to factorize that cubic equation and so on. Okay, always look for the easy step.